Okay, so this video I'm making runs along the same sort of lines as the one I made recently where I was saying that they're still putting stuff into the water. The thing is, these scientists and doctors, they don't stop just there because I thought about it a bit more and, it makes perfect sense that they would be putting stuff into marijuana, alcohol. And they don't tell us what they put in this stuff. The ingredients have changed over the years. I don't myself do not smoke marijuana. I've never felt comfortable smoking it. It's just not my thing. That's different for a lot of other people. It relaxes them, stimulates brain activity, whatever the reason for doing it is, they do it. I do not. So I can't speak firsthand, but I know someone who smokes, and he believes he's getting organic. And you know what? He's not lying. Not because he's right, but because he doesn't know that what he's getting isn't organic. He thinks he's getting a pure, no chemicals added, all this sort of stuff. It's not genetically modified or any of that sort of stuff. That's a blatant lie. He's not lying because he doesn't know any better. And his dealer who's selling him that probably thinks that as well. But the fact of the matter is, marijuana, if you look at it through the spectrum of time, has changed dramatically in the last 60, 80 years. If you look at it from the spectrum of that. Before, you could smoke a big fat joint like the size of like a cigar, and maybe you'd feel a little bit of it, but it wouldn't hit you like a sack of potatoes like this stuff does to you today. And that's because it's all genetically modified. You don't know what they put in it. It sure as hell ain't organic. And you simply cannot trust it. Some scientists have tinkered around with it. And back in the Vietnam War, it was believed that it turned you into pacifists and things like that. Well, that's not exactly true with the person I know. He gets very angry still when he smokes, so I don't understand why that would be. I guess it's different things for different people. There are different strains of marijuana and things like that. But it's all being controlled by somebody at the other end who's most likely a spider who's weaving a web and convinced people this is it, this is the best stuff, this feels great. But you don't know what's in it, and what it's designed to do. Now, getting back to alcohol, the ingredients for alcohol have changed as well. Now, you can buy different types of beers, like beers from Belgium that are stronger. You can buy American beers that, are basically warm piss if you drink them warm. I drink cider because I would think it was the gentlest on my throat, which is a whole other subject altogether. I'm not going to get into it in this video. But I'm just going to read the ingredients on my cider. And what does it say for ingredients? Cider, natural flavor, color. Contains sulfites. So basically, it's not telling me what the ingredients are. Cider is not an ingredient of cider. Cider is cider. So therefore, they've told me nothing about what's in it. And they can put stuff into these drinks. They can put stuff into marijuana where you're not going to taste it. You're not going to smell it. And you have no way of proving that there's anything in it because the doctors and the scientists have taken away people's ability to figure this sort of stuff out. There's no starter kit for chemistry that can determine what's in this stuff. And likely it's to, like as I said before in the they're putting stuff in the water video. Doctors do things because they think they're right. A, they want to make money. B, they want to think they're right. So they may do things like bring upon drug-induced early pain for like me because of alcohol consumption. So they may put stuff in it It makes you feel like you're in more pain than you actually should be at that point in time in your life. This is just a working theory. I may be wrong, but there's just something not right about the whole system. And the way how these doctors are so authoritarian and how their decision making is irrevocable, and they don't have to tell you when they do things. It just leads me to suspect how often that gets done. How often is that happening where they've made the decision and they don't tell us because they know we just won't like it. They're highly suspicious. It is about making money for them. We live in a capitalist society. So it used to be that with certain things they put additives in them to make you addicted to them. Like McDonald's, for example. McDonald's is a prime example of food that made you addicted to it. And even today, like fried foods and chicken and things like that, we're genetically predisposed to like it. And vegetables are a little bit less interesting. I mean, they kind of always have been because, let's face it, particularly Caucasians we're omnivores. We eat meat. We eat basically what's available, but we prefer to eat meat. And I know that's certainly the case with me. I am making a conscious effort to eat more pineapple and other fruit and my salads and things like that, but most of the time I want to eat meat or something with sugar in it. That's not necessarily healthy, but broccoli on its own is kind of boring. Not to knock on broccoli, I like broccoli, but it is a tad boring. The thing is, it is well known that everything has stuff added to it. Marijuana, pharmaceutical drugs, the water, the alcohol, cigarettes. Who knows what they put in cigarettes or why. Again, it's all about money. It's all about doctors who think they know what's best. And they're not always looking out for the common man. In fact, quite often they're not. Quite often it's them lining their own pockets while other people have to live in misery. And they don't care. But the thing is, they're a small minority. And it's not like their lies are intelligent or clever. They're just dirty and underhanded. And they're scheming slime balls who deserve no respect. I don't care if you have a white coat. I don't care if you went to school. You trained to be an asshole? Oh, good for you. I hope you get a disease. And I hope you die in agony. Yeah. I'm not going to lay a finger on them. That is a promise. Even though there are some of them, let's just face it, they deserve a good ass kicking. My hands are clean. I'm not doing a thing. But I will expose them on my YouTube channel for what it counts. Again, like I've said in other videos, I have no idea who can actually watch this video. I don't know who it's available to. This is video footage I'm keeping for myself as documentation because I have reason to believe that I can't trust the government. I can't trust the establishment through various reasons. I mean, I've exposed other simple lies that they keep telling, and they'll deny it, but what it's called is a mechanism of control. It's their ability to prevent you from asking questions, from getting answers from them, or getting a response from them of any kind. And if you've ever been to a hospital, you'll know that doctors have a way of shuffling around. They have a way of giving you the roundabout, and it's basically sit and spin, and you never really get an answer out of these people. They're trained not to answer questions. They're trained to do whatever they want to do, and they're not always looking out for your best interest. They say they are. They say, oh, you're involved in your own health, but the truth is you're not. They make the decisions for you because they think they're educated and they're smarter and they don't have to explain anything, because they won't explain anything if they don't have to. You have to sit there and you have to grill them, and that's hard to do because they keep shuffling about, they keep moving around, they keep keeping things brief, and it's very hard to get answers out of them. But the thing is, they are a minority. They are a minority. There aren't that many of them. And they may hide behind the police. They may hide behind ambulance drivers that'll throw you in the loony bin if you're saying something outside of what they consider to be normal or acceptable. They don't like free thinkers. They don't like people who can think for themselves. They want people to be what the internet vaguely calls a sheeple. Now, I hate using that term because a lot of idiots use that term, but used appropriately, you can begin to understand that it does apply to most people. And most people don't think of themselves as sheeple because they know a little bit about being an accountant or being a lawyer or being a grocery clerk or working at a Starbucks. They have their boxes of information, but these boxes of information, you can have 100 boxes of information. You could know how to, completely repair a car from inside and out. You can know everything about fishing or driving a car. Well, I guess it's the same thing as, you know what I mean. There's a lot of different activities you can know all about, but it's a limited knowledge. It's not a grand spectrum of things. So you can still be deceived. You can still be pushed around and treated like a sheeple. And the more people are awake to these very simple concepts, and they got to put down their stubbornness and their inability to accept new ideas, particularly the older crowd, unfortunately. They're very stubborn, set in their ways. They don't listen. They don't want to listen. They want to keep living the life that they've been trained to live their whole lives, and they don't want to give that up. That's why my message in my other video that I just made about not going to London Drugs, the big guy on the block, isn't going to sink into some old people. Old people aren't going to understand because they've dealt with London Drugs for 30 years. They're not going to want to hear that even though they have health problems brought upon by Big Pharma, and the biggest beneficiary of Big Pharma and the people who directly deal with Big Pharma is London Drugs. So to screw Big Pharma, who screwed them, you go to the little guys. Therefore, the big business that deals with Big Pharma suffers. And if they suffer, then Big Pharma will suffer. And with these kind of people, they lose their money, they lose their shirts. Cry me a fucking river. You fucking deserve it. Well, the thing is, they do a little more thorough in their studies than they used to. There's more clinical trials, and that's also a mixed bag because a lot of these new medicines they try out are actually very painful. They literally torture animals. The animals are the first ones, like rabbits, mice, you name it. They're absolutely abused, very, very much so, and they have no choice. It just happens to them. So there are people behind closed doors in our society that commit acts of barbarism. And the thing is, they say it goes through clinical phases when they're trying new drugs. And they say that phase 2 is experimenting on humans. They tell me it's voluntary patients, but that's not the truth. The truth is, the next stage is involuntary patients, and it may be because they committed a violent crime and they're mentally unwell, or it could be for any reason. But they're the next ones because they're involuntary, they don't have a choice, and they're the ones who are experimented on. The voluntary patients are the ones who willingly walk into that mess and will suffer just as badly as them. It's just they will have more. The doctors will have more knowledge of the drug when it comes to them. Not a whole lot more, but more. And then they prescribe it again to involuntary patients in another category, and so on and so forth. So yeah, like there's just so much going on, and it's a very small amount of people who are actually committing these insidious acts. And the thing is, the Guy Fawkes mask sort of thing says, is that when the minority realizes that they're a minority, and that the common man can stand up and just say no to them, then they don't have any power. They lose it. And as I told you, they can go fuck themselves, so I don't care what they think. And their lies aren't complicated. They just keep telling them. They keep being obsessive compulsive about it. They don't change their story. They're trained how to lie. And the only reason they get away with it is because the people who know their lies, most of them, keep their mouths shut, either because it's an oath thing, like they've given an oath because they're a doctor or a scientist or whatever. They're told to keep secrets because they're afraid of, because they're afraid because they've experienced this sort of stuff and they know that these doctors can make them take these drugs again and again and again until it breaks their spirit. But then you got a guy like me who doesn't know firsthand, only has a vague idea, but I've committed nothing wrong. They certainly can't prove it. If they could, they would have done something about me a long time ago. The fact is, they got nothing on me. Nothing at all. So, it's alright, some of what I've got to say is speculation, some of it is hypothetical and hypothesis. Some of it may be inaccurate. I'm sure there's some people that can fill in the blanks for me. But I would have that mechanism of fear from talking about this sort of stuff, from trying to actually legitimately disrupt Big Pharma. I don't have that. I don't have that fear. I don't have that that concern that they're going to come get me because of it. Well, I do a little bit because they're irrational, they're angry, they're desperate, they're paranoid themselves. They like to accuse other people of being that, but the fact of the matter is that's what they are. They're very manipulative in their speech, so they'll try and convince you you're the one who's paranoid. You question things, you're the one who's got abstract thinking, and you need medicine. You need their medicine. But do they take their own medicine? As someone once said, taste your own medicine, doctor? Not as often as they should. And I've heard a lot of fucked up things. I've heard from nurses and doctors that, everybody should be on Tecta. Everybody should be on Tecta. Well, excuse me if we shouldn't just fall into the capitalist money-making profit scheme, especially as I don't think it's some wonder drug. I don't think you're right. And I don't think you have the right to tell us what to think. I could understand you being a very simple, stupid animal in a white coat thinking, I have the right to tell him what to do. I do because I went to school. Blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? your little plan unravels just like that. The whole thing can come falling apart. Because there are a lot of other people who have, they may have constraints on them and red tape wrapped around them to keep their mouths shut. But me, they've hurt me just enough for me to figure out exactly what they're about. And believe me, it hurts. Like, my throat hurts every day because of the medicine I have to take. So, but they were wrong on how they approached me. They assumed I was stupid. They assumed I'd never figure anything out. They assumed if they were just obsessive compulsive about their lies, that I would never come to the conclusions that I have. That they could just keep lying to me forever and I would never figure it out. Well, you're wrong. And now you're going to have a problem, because I'm going to make you have a problem. Because I can explain this in layman's terms to anybody. And I will. Young people, look, you go into the mental health system. You go and approach a GP or anything like that, and they're going to prescribe you drugs that aren't exactly going to help you. It's going to line their pockets. It's going to make them look good to Big Pharma, but it's not going to help you. Like I would approach troubled youth and be like, look, man, you gotta calm down, man. Just relax. Because if you're stressed out, if you got anger management problems, and these people get a hold of you, then they're sick, twisted individuals. They're the ones with anger management problems, with you name it. To get into that profession, you have got to be some sick, twisted fucker. And I don't care if you think you're doing it for the greater good or whatever. They're abusive. And they, some of them, I dare say, enjoy doing what they do. I have indirect evidence of this, because a lot of the Facebook channels, particularly veganism, show animal abuse. And that's because we don't really know who we're talking to when we go on Facebook. And these people who have little group powwows and do the things they do, you don't know what they think. You don't know actually what they think, because they're speaking to you in a manipulative manner. They're trying to get you to think exactly the way they want you to. So the fact is, you may see these hardcore vegans on, well, I've swerved off into the vegan conversation, but anyway, you may see these hardcore vegans on Facebook, but you don't actually know where they're coming from, because they're pitching a story to you. They're pitching a narrative. They want you to believe their version of events. They want to manipulate you into thinking the way they want you to. So I do question things. I do go, I don't know who's on the other end of the line. I don't know if I can trust them or not. They're not a real person most of the time. Oh, they got a profile picture. That must be them. That explains everything. No, it doesn't. Because they don't make videos like I do. They don't properly present themselves. They hide behind closed doors, and they may have a couple of pictures of themselves on their Facebook. But I guarantee you, most of them don't have videos explaining themselves. And if they told you a name, it's going to be a fake name. They told you where they live, it's going to be a fake place. And why am I talking about Facebook people and internet jockeys and things like that, who also talk in a manipulative manner, same sort of way as doctors and GPs do, same sort of way scientists do, as far as, you know, them telling you as little or to nothing as possible, them doing whatever they want, and them trying to push their agenda on you, trying to, as I said, get you to believe their version of things. You have to break through that and think for yourself. They don't want you doing that, because as soon as enough people actually stop their day-to-day lives and become more coherent of what's going on in the world, then the more we can join together and figure out how to solve these problems, because these answers can't be left up to the people of authority. I question authority. I really do, because most of the time they're cold-hearted bastards, and they're just they've seen so many things in their lives, and they've had so many experiences that they just don't care anymore. They literally are the cyborgs of the Terminator movies. And the thing is, we could be a little bit paranoid. I think that's okay. But there is no telling what these people will do if they're not getting their way. You don't know, because you never saw their real face anyway. You never saw what they really were. You can't even begin to understand how they think, because they don't allow you to know enough about them for you to construct real opinions without having to kind of work it out for yourself and kind of go, well, what would they be doing, and what could they possibly be doing, and why would they be doing it? And then it all starts to make sense. They're not that much more intelligent. They know how to keep their mouth shut. But their intellect, their IQ level is not that much higher than that of an average human being. Sure, they're trained dogs. They know how to read books. They know how to lie. But that doesn't mean they're more intelligent. That doesn't mean they can't. Like, for example, like, there's probably some high-ranking doctor out there who doesn't have any of his own ideas. He probably can't think that way. He probably couldn't write lyrics to a song. Or he probably couldn't play a piano. Or he probably doesn't know anything about cars. Or anything like that. They have their set of skills, and their brain literally has no more room for anything else. So it's like they're not even really people. They're the information that they've been given. They're just trained parrots. Trained dogs who know their set of rhetoric and dogma, and they can never establish a real personality, a real themselves. Anyway, this video was about me talking about them putting stuff in everything, from alcohol, cigarettes, the water, everything, and the fact that they're a small minority, and they like to think they have more authority than everyone else. But like I said, as soon as their plans are discovered, as soon as their modus operandi is understood, then things are going to come tumbling down for them. And it's the classic case of, oh, boo fucking who. Nobody's going to care if these assholes lose their shirts. So, they aren't going to care. I'm not going to care. And maybe some of them are decent people and they're just in a difficult situation. They have to make difficult choices. But the fact of the matter is, if you're an asshole, you're an asshole. And if you're in these types of positions where you lie and manipulate people, and you do what you think is right because you think you have authority and things like that, and things don't go your way, then you have nobody to blame but yourself. So anyway, that's my piece for tonight. If you guys enjoyed my video, feel free to subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.